Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'a sunnatahu ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome again to another episode of your weekly Islamic chat show, Guest of the Week, coming to you from Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, Sharjah Television. As always, I'm your host, Ismail Bullock. And today, inshallah, we want to talk about an important hadith, an important characteristics that we as Muslims should have, an important characteristic that would solve a lot of problems or deter a lot of arguments and problems in society, which is leaving that or from the true faith of the believer, or from the characteristics of the believer, is that he leaves that which does not concern him. And to do that with me, inshallah, today is Brother Muhammed Khan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
So, brother, this is obviously a very pertinent, a very amazing hadith, a very important hadith. So we're going to discuss now the subjects that revolve around this hadith.
If we see that, a practical aspect of life is that a person comes in this world alone, and he stays here in this dunya, he stays in this world, he tries to make a living, he gets married, he does work, business, whatever. And then he dies, he goes from this world alone. He goes to his grave alone. On the day of resurrection, he will be standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, accountable for his deeds, whatever he did in this world, the good and the bad. So here we see that a believer or a human being in general is responsible for his actions, and a believer, he is responsible and he takes care of what he does and about his responsibilities in this life, keeping the hereafter in mind. And therefore, a hadith of Sunan Tirmidhi, where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that part of perfection of one's deen, one's Islam, is to leave that which does not concern you, to leave that which does not concern the person. And this is such a beautiful hadith, and the scholars, they have derived so many lessons from this hadith. That number one is that one should be concerned about the matters which are important, which are relevant, and which a person will be asked about and which will benefit the person, rather than being concerned about things which doesn't benefit him in any way in this world or in the hereafter. And we'll discuss that inshallah as to what are these some widespread notions nowadays, and some widespread things which even many Muslims are getting involved into through wasting their time. The hadith shows us that Islam is concerned with the welfare of society, that you don't poke your nose in others' matters, you don't go about digging others' lives, or being concerned about matters which are not actually related to you. If yes, someone comes to you as nasiha, as counseling, guidance, and so on and so forth, yes, you are there. But when it comes to, in general, the welfare of the society, Islam, it teaches us that you leave that which does not concern you. The hadith also reminds us that life is short, and therefore for us to be concerned about matters which are useless doesn't make any sense. Life is short. We never know when we might die. There is no guarantee that someone will stay for 60 years, 70 years, or 50 years even for that case. Because we see on a daily basis, there are youngsters, 20, 25, 30, 17, 16, dying on a daily basis. And there are people who live long. But how do we know that we are going to survive, we are going to live that long? Therefore, this hadith tells us that, whatever time you have, whatever life Allah has given to you, whatever time span you have, try to be concerned with matters which are beneficial and which will benefit you in this world and in the hereafter, rather than, wasting your time here and there. The hadith also nurtures a person to have high aspirations. What makes a person concerned with things that do not concern him is being ignorant of his own affairs. And the Salaf, they used to say that if a person is concerned with matters which do not concern him, he is in fact neglecting the matters which does concern him. If he is worried about others, and if he is worried about matters which are actually not concerning him, then he is actually neglecting his responsibilities, matters which actually does concern him. And this hadith also, the scholars, they have derived lessons that this hadith encourages us to avoid excessive speech and to the sins which are related to speech. Because when a person, he goes into this matters which are not pertaining to him, then there is ghiba, there is namima, there is slandering, there comes the sin of lying, backbiting, and so on and so forth. These major sins of Islam, these are committed through the tongue. And nowadays it's even through the keyboards, because it's so open. The media nowadays, we have the sins which one can commit through the tongue can easily be committed through the keyboards, the ghiba, namima, slandering, accusing, backbiting, so on and so forth. And what are the concerns? This hadith shifts our focus to what should be our main concern. Is it just running behind some World Cup or some match or something which is happening, and wasting our 8 hours, 10 hours of the day, and just being concerned as to which team wins, which team doesn't? It can be as a good sport, for fitness and so on and so forth, but making it as a concern, because there are reports where people, they have committed suicide just because their team lost in a World Cup match, or in the semi-final, a team lost and the person committed suicide. This shows us that how engrossed the person was, and that was the whole and soul focus and purpose of such a person's life. So similarly, we have to see that what are our major concerns, what should be our major concerns, and what should not be our concerns. For example, if someone comes to us and asks us for help, say for example, someone is in need of good advice, good counseling, we cannot just move away saying this is none of my concern, because according to Islamic perspective, to help others, to give good advice, nasiha, or help in whatever way, shape or form is encouraged, is good. So we weigh this concern according to Islam, according to the Quran and Sunnah. What is a big concern? We check it from the Quran and Sunnah. And what is not a concern, we also check that from the Quran and Sunnah. So for example, a brother in some country might be in need, might be going through some difficult times. For me to help him or make dua in the least is actually a concern, because the Prophet ﷺ said that the Muslim ummah is like one body. When one part of it feels pain, the other part also feels that pain. So similarly, we need to get our concerns right, and we need to get out of useless matters and useless things which actually does not benefit us in this world or in the hereafter. The Prophet ﷺ also mentioned a very profound hadith: speak good or stay silent. This is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ: speak good or stay silent. And today, in this age of networking and communication on social media and ease of communication, we see this, that if we want to be safe, we want to play safe, you apply this hadith. You either speak good or stay silent. This is the thumb rule. This is the rule which we should go by. And especially, where we see so much in terms of blogging and social media and videos and whatnot, forward messages, a lot of things coming your way, where it doesn't concern you in the first place. Secondly, it has things related which are sinful, such as, slandering of a personality, making fun of some celebrity or personality or a speaker or a sheikh, and even Islam in some cases. You get these things and jokes and where they are mocking Islam.
See, the funny thing is, not really funny at all, but what you see is you find from if we look at the Salaf or our pious predecessors, the companions and those after them, they used to try and make excuses for their brothers. They said, for example, we know there's one of them who said that if I was to see my Muslim brother with alcohol dripping from his beard, I'd say maybe that someone had poured it on him. Or if I saw one of them standing somewhere saying, Ana Rabbukum A'la, I am your Lord the Most High, I would say to myself, he must be reading the verse from the Quran where Allah is saying, Ana Rabbukum Al-A'la. So they would But nowadays we find if we saw that straight away, we'd run and we'd say, look at this certain Islamic preacher or this particular Muslim brother, he drinks alcohol. How do you know? It was dripping from his beard. Oh, no way. And like you said, it'll be all over the media. Or we'll find another one where I heard him with my own ears standing saying, I am your Lord the Most High. And then it will spread. This person has become an apostate. He's claiming to be Allah without checking. So this is something, and we even see, you know, in many industries, we have magazines that people produce with the latest love stories or scandals or private life that they've spied on of celebrities. And people go crazy to buy this. And sometimes they're the most top-selling magazines, most viewed shows are the private lives of the celebrities. And these celebrities haven't volunteered this private life to them. It's been by the paparazzi or the people camping outside their houses or zooming it through their windows or spying them on their holiday beach or whatever it is, and then spreading it. And these, unfortunately, are the most highly viewed, most purchased programs or magazines. So this is something that there's definitely an issue out there where people are getting involved in things that are none of their business and have no concern or no benefit for them, apart from they filling that kind of sinful scandal. Let's read the latest scandal, the latest gossip. And we know Islamically, gossiping, spreading gossip, namam, the one who spreads gossip, is very big sin in Islam, and that person is considered to be a bad person who goes around just spreading stories of gossip to entertain people and to cause mischief, or just even to entertain people.
And subhanAllah, this doesn't bring any benefit. Like you see people, they waste their time 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. It's behind reading these blogs, behind reading the lives of these so-called celebrities, and you know, just to find out, okay, what does he eat, when does he sleep, when does he get up, what does he wear, when does he go to the washroom, so on and so forth. Things of this nature is being, you know, sold, and it's widespread. And nowadays, as you said, you know, there are these e-magazines and the blogs, and so everything, like, it's on the fingertips. And as we know that, you know, the greater the fitna, inshallah, the greater the reward if you abstain from it. So for us, you know, doing this program, the purpose is that, you know, we get our focus right, we get our priorities right, and we do not waste our precious time behind these useless things. We just, you know, keep them away. Because this is how the Sahaba were. They were very focused. They knew this is what my plan is. They knew I want to do this. They didn't engage themselves in what that person is doing or what he is doing, or, you know, let's go and sit and chit chat about some third person in some third country. And subhanAllah, when it comes to the scholars, you know, you find people, they speaking ill about the scholars, and now the platform is open. People speak ill about the du'at, about the speakers, the preachers. As the Salaf, they said, you know, the flesh of the scholars is poisonous. As we know the verse of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, the mafhum of which is that those who backbite, they are like eating the flesh of their dead brother. And the scholars, again, they describe that this is, you know, a double sin. Eating your brother is haram, and eating dead meat is haram. So over here you're committing, you know, double sin, double crime, and this is how Allah has described when one backbites, when one speaks behind your back. And subhanAllah, the scholars, they said that, you know, the flesh of the scholars is poisonous. So we need to think, you know, twice or more than that, you know, before we open our tongue or before we type on our keyboards regarding the scholars.
Definitely a very good point. And on that note, inshallah, we'll go for a short break. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back. And obviously we ended off with that very strong hadith about backbiting. So this is, obviously we've mentioned some of the very bad things and the bad characteristics and the bad consequences of getting involved in that which does not concern you.
As we were discussing, you know, that people, they loosely, they speak against the scholars. They think, okay, this scholar is not speaking appropriately, or he's paid and he is, you know, he's sold, and so on and so forth. People come up with these ideas on social media, because nowadays, previously it was like if a scholar, he has published a book or an author, people didn't have this means, you know, to openly comment on that. although even if they wanted to. But nowadays, because of the platforms we have, it's very easy that one just takes his mobile and films a video and uploads it, and it's viral. Slandering the scholar or speaking against him. Similarly, people, they sit and they talk and talk and talk about rulers and saying, why is he doing this, why is he doing that, and subhanallah, which is none of his business, which is none of his concern. He won't be asked on the day of resurrection about what the ruler did. And he sits there, he increases his scale of bad deeds, backbiting the ruler, not knowing that what are his good deeds. His deeds might be hidden. He might be doing sadaqah, charity, da'wah. He doesn't need to come open and tell each and every one from his nation that I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He is not doing this, he is not doing that. Why is he planning this way? Subhanallah, these things are none of our concerns. It's for the scholars, for the rulers, and we sit here, we talk. It's a nice place, maybe some coffee shop, and people sit and they spend hours. And nowadays it's even on WhatsApp, and it's even on social media and other places where people are engaging, and they see one news by someone and then they just blow it out, and then they come up with the ideas, accusing the scholars and rulers and so on and so forth. The thing is that what we need to understand is that we need to prioritize our responsibilities first. Have you understood the Aqidah? Have you even corrected your tajweed? Do you even know what nullifies your prayer? Do you know how to perform wudu properly? These basic things are not intact. Sadly to say, people don't know these basics, and then they go on to say that, this ruler shouldn't be doing this. This scholar, he shouldn't be giving this topic. He shouldn't be giving this khutbah, and so on and so forth. So for us, prioritize things. Let me give you an example. If a doctor, he is the only doctor available, and two cases comes to him. One is a person with cold, and the other with a heart attack. Which one will the doctor treat? He will definitely go and treat the one who has got a heart attack. He won't go to treat the one with cold, otherwise he will lose on the big thing. Similarly for us, we have to be concerned about big matters first. Our salah, knowledge, our priorities in life, how do we earn, our parents, our family, and what are we doing in life? What are we going to do, once we have wealth? What are we going to do when we don't have wealth? What are we going to do in calamities? Have we read the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ? Do we really know about him? The questions in the grave, Man Rabbuka, Ma Dinuka, who is your Lord, and what is your deen, and who is Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? Have we gained knowledge about this? Are we in a position to answer these questions? These are our priorities. This is what we need to get intact, rather than being, concerned about matters which are, of no benefit.
That's an interesting point, because these questions in the grave, some people will say, well, of course. Some people might say, of course. I believe in all of those. I'll answer it easy. But we know that from the Hadith, there will be people who will say, from the Muslims, this is not talk about non-Muslims, from the Muslims who will say, who considered themselves to be from among the Muslims and believe that they had, correct belief, they will say, ha la adri, like, I don't know. I heard people saying this and I said the same as them. So this is something you also have to be careful. These things that we always hear, and people say, well, you guys always studying books that talk about 3 principles of what you'll answer in the grave. There's no need. We all know them, we all believe them. But do we really understand them? To say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, do we understand what the conditions of it? Having sincerity, believing it with truth, having certainty, etc., etc. Do we know that which negates it? If I pray to a grave, if I pray to somebody else, all these different things, if I believe in all these bad suspicions, all these things can negate or go against the statement of la ilaha illallah. Do we know that? Do we know those things, those conditions and those things that negate it? We say we believe in Rasulullah, but do we know enough about the Rasulullah? Do we know enough about Rasulullah that we do, like you mentioned, the famous football players and the actors and the people that we look up to? Do we know more about them than we do the Prophet ﷺ or not? Then we know, okay, I better focus on this. So this is important. It's not something that's, so, like you said, so easy. And even if we knew all of those things, like you mentioned, still, it's not our business then, even if we become very knowledgeable in the sense of our daily, we become good students of knowledge, even then, Islamically, it's not our business to get involved in politics, like you mentioned, and the rulings and all this kind of rulers and politics and even scholars, because who are we to do so? You know, there are certain people who are qualified. They do it in the way of the Sunnah. They advise. They go in person by person to advise. That's their responsibility. It's not our responsibility to, like you mentioned, to sit there and and discuss these things. Even if we feel that I'm very knowledgeable in this and this and that, there are certain people for certain things. Certain people, you know, everyone should be involved in what is his speciality.
True.
So this is important as well, because this is something like you mentioned now, especially with social media, people left, right and center, whether it's to do with that, whether it's scholars, whether it's individuals all over the place, spending, like they can say whatever they want kind of thing, and it's wasting so much time and so much effort on these kind of things.
That's right. And this is what we must recognize our responsibilities. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, that every one of you is a shepherd of his flock. A man is a shepherd of his family. A woman is a shepherd of the husband's wealth and children. And everyone will be asked on the day of resurrection about their flock, about their responsibilities. So now we sit and we evaluate. What is my responsibility? What are my responsibilities? Number one, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the deen, and towards his creation. Because Allah has given you certain responsibilities. You have to fulfill them. If you are the man of the house, it's your responsibility to take care of your wife, your children, to educate them. Firstly, starting from yourself individually, it's your responsibility to learn the deen, to seek knowledge, to perform acts of ibadah. Then it's your responsibility to teach your children, your family members, earn halal income and spend upon them lawfully. These are your responsibilities. So have you got that intact? This is what we need to focus, because these are the things which you will be asked on the day of the resurrection. As we discussed, you won't be asked about a scholar, why he gave this khutbah, or we won't be asked about a ruler, why did he take this decision, why did he plan in such a way. You will be asked about yourself, your family, yourself, what did you do in this world. And similarly, Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, he said that one of the signs of Allah's turning away from a man is that he becomes involved in things which does not concern him. And as a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may he be glorified and exalted, has left him to his own devices, to his own desires. That, you know, a person, when he is engaged, when you see a person, you know, he's more engaged into arguments and debates, and he's rather, you know, not giving importance to his ibadah, to his responsibilities, then know that, you know, this person, he is, you know, going off the track. And we need to see that how were the Sahaba, how the Prophet ﷺ, used to visit his wives every day after around Asr Salah. He used to visit them, he used to check upon them. The Sahaba, they had similar traits. You know, they were so cautious as to where did the wealth come from. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, once he ate a date, and then later on, this out of fear that this might be out of, you know, some sadaqah, he put his hand and he took it out, he vomited it out. This is how much they were concerned, because they knew that hereafter is the reality and we will be asked about this. They were not concerned about, you know, what the other person is doing and what that ruler is doing, and so on and so forth. So similarly, we see that our life, whatever time span we have, it needs to be productive. It needs to be spent in the way which will bring benefit, and which ultimately is you know, the purpose of our life, to worship Allah, and what we will be asked in the grave and on the day of resurrection. This is what we need to focus upon. Killing time. This is what, you know, people, they say, we are killing time, passing time, or killing time. This is something which we should remove from our dictionary. As a Muslim, there is no such thing as killing time, because you are short on time. You lack time. We are lacking time. We cannot go about, you know, killing time. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in one of the hadith, that there are two blessings, the mafhum of which is that there are two blessings which people, you know, let go of. Number one is good health, and number two is free time. And when Allah has given you this time, and when you have this free time, try to utilize it, try to be productive. Don't waste it, you know, 8 hours on social media, 10 hours watching something, you know, which is, you know, baseless, use as some soap operas, some programs, or some movies. wasting your time and money and energy behind it. The Prophet ﷺ, in this profound hadith, he's saying good health and free time. And if you see that a lot of people today, if you go to the hospitals, if you just pay a visit to the hospitals, let it be any hospital, you see people suffering from different diseases, from different illnesses. And some of these people, their only wish is to prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once, which they cannot. If Allah has given us this opportunity, if we can go prostrate to Allah, we can pray our 5 times in masjid, we can do some da'wah work, we can do some charity, we can recite, memorize the Quran. We are in that position, and take use of that. Free time and good health. A lot of people today in this time and age, they don't have this. They don't have free time. They don't have good health. A lot of people, they are suffering from this back problems, or they are suffering. They cannot make one prostration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, there are people who cannot move. They are paralyzed. Still, they have, we see this and we take this as a sign for us. Because if Allah has blessed you, try to, make use of your time. Try to do it in whatever way, whatever suits you, whatever skills Allah has given you. It is not that you go out of your way and you do something which, you're not skillful at. As rightly you said, everyone does what they are skillful at. You do something which you're skillful at, and inshallah you will see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up the pathways, and Allah will make it easy for you practicing the deen, and inshallah being firm upon the deen. Moreover, if we see that controlling the tongue, this is one of the qualities of the believers. And again, when it comes to matters which does not concern us, this is a major aspect. As Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, if there is something which seriously needs to be imprisoned, it is the tongue. The tongue needs to be imprisoned, because a lot of sins which we mentioned, either the sins are through the tongue or the sins are through the limbs. So the sins of the tongues, they are severe, and according to one hadith, a person will be thrown into hell because of a word which he uttered, and he was careless about it. He was just, heedless, and he was uttering. And this is what, subhanAllah, nowadays we see, may Allah protect us, that people, they don't even think about it, and they keep typing, they keep watching, they keep liking, they keep sharing, and they don't even know the severity, they don't even know that how serious this is. Similarly, for example, there are the calamity of these comedy shows, the stand-up shows. People, they utter kufr in that. People, they slander. People, they accuse and abuse and mock the celebrities. They mock personalities. And people, they sit behind the TV show and they are laughing, and the whole family is watching and they are laughing. So we need to come out of this mentality as to whatever is out there is okay for entertainment, and we can just indulge into it. Utilize your time in the proper channels, through the proper channels, and try to stay away from laghu, that is vainless and useless talk. Let it be in any way, shape or form. Useless talk does not always have to be someone, sitting in front of you and talking to you about some other person, or someone who is not related to you. Useless talk can be something, a useless video, a useless post, and so on and so forth.
Okay, on that point, inshallah, we'll go for a short break. Join us after the break. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back. Now, just before the break, we'd emphasized on, we gave so many examples and so many things about, not talking about things that don't concern you. You mentioned the statement of Ibn al-Qayyim regarding the tongue, and it reminds me of the Prophet ﷺ when he was telling Mu'adh about the dangers of the tongue, and Mu'adh said to him, "O Rasulullah, will we be judged by what we say on our tongues?" And he said, "Thakaratka ummaka ya Mu'adh." May your amma be, it's a figure of speech, may your mother be bereft of you, Mu'adh. He said, "For indeed, the man or mankind will not be dragged to the hellfire except by what their tongues have brought forward." And we know in other hadith it mentions, if you guarantee to me that you will hold back on these two things, your tongue and your private parts, I will guarantee for you paradise. So we see this is a serious here from these hadiths as well, that people can be dragged to the hellfire by what they said. And now someone may say, but whoa, they may not really reflect and say, that seems a bit harsh, dragged to the hellfire because of what you say. But if you think, people are murdered sometimes by what they say. On top of that, people commit shirk by what they say. People cause marriages and families and societies and sometimes countries to split and fall into chaos and all kinds of things that you look back somewhere. It started by a person saying something, by declaring something or saying a statement that encouraged people to do something that led to a very big evil. Could be demonstrations. We see people come out, could be one woman, one man, they come out and they make a statement.
True.
Next thing you know, people come out on the streets. Next thing you know, it's a demonstration. Next thing you know, civil war.
Right.
So we see that many problems happen from just what someone has said from their tongue. So we can see this is very, very important from this statement of Ibn al-Qayyim, from the Hadith, and even we know that in Surah Qaf, ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد, that nobody will utter a single word except that there are the angels recording these things down. So this is quite a very serious matter that people, we all, including myself, we all many times take lightly.
That's right. Therefore, this hadith teaches us that we shift our focus to things which concerns us, and from the top of the matters which we can discuss inshallah is, number one, what concerns us is knowledge, and we have to gain knowledge, and this is without any doubt that knowledge brings benefit in this world, in the hereafter, and our salvation technically is based upon seeking the proper knowledge about the deen, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about His sharia, about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is something which nowadays it's not difficult, if we can use that word, because we have this ease of communication. We can easily connect to learn the sciences of Islam, to gain knowledge, to check, to question from a sheikh, or get answers from a sheikh, and so on and so forth. And therefore, what we want our viewers to do is that make knowledge your priority. Seeking knowledge about the deen of Allah, make this priority. This will open up your mindset, and this will also give you a broad perspective of life and things. Because as we mentioned, people who waste time, who comment and slander, backbite scholars, rulers, and so on and so forth, they have a very shallow understanding of the deen. Maybe just watched a couple of lectures here and there, or maybe they've read a couple of articles, and that's it. For us, what is required is to gain knowledge, to seek knowledge in the proper way. First and foremost, to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is our concern, to know about Allah. Who is Allah? To know about His names and attributes, and to know about the deen of Allah, to know about the sharia of Allah, because this is what will be asked in the grave. Man Rabbuka? Who is your Lord? Now, if you do not know, then you are in trouble, you are in problem. And as we see that a lot of people, they have these deviant concepts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that either in His ibadah, or either in His lordship, or in His names and attributes. They have these distorted, they don't have this pure tawheed. Either they are supplicating to someone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or either they are giving the attributes to human beings, or they are giving attributes of human beings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for us, this is a matter of concern, to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to seek knowledge about who is Allah and about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we are supposed to do. Number two is to gain knowledge about the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this also covers about the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about his seerah, and about his way, how he taught us the deen of Allah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Muhammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a mercy. He lived amongst the Sahaba, amongst the people, and he practically demonstrated as to what you are supposed to do in this life and what will come in the hereafter. Everything is told to us by the Prophet ﷺ. Everything is the path is clear. It's very clear, and it's open for everyone, whoever wishes to follow the path of the Sunnah. So for us, it's important we gain the knowledge about the Prophet ﷺ, and rather than engaging in knowing about other personalities, other figures, so-called celebrities, we gain knowledge about the Prophet ﷺ because it's natural, psychologically. If you read and if you follow and if you engage to know about a particular personality, the more you read, the more you know about the person, the more love and inclination you will have towards that personality. And therefore we see that people, they do evil things. We can't even discuss on this show evil things on their social media platform. Still they have millions of followers. Still they have people who are liking, sharing, and they are reposting. And subhanAllah, it's kind of shocking and surprising, because inside within them they even know that this is immoral, this is immodest, but still, just because of this psychology that they've been following them, they've been liking them, they've been reading about them, about their life, what they did, what they like, what they dislike, they start liking even the evil deeds of this personality. So when we know that this is how we human beings function, we should follow, read about the Prophet ﷺ, so that we are inclined towards him. We are gaining this love of the Prophet ﷺ. When we read about him, when we know about him, we will by automatically increase more in our love towards the Prophet ﷺ. We'll have this love for the Sunnah, to follow the Sunnah. Similar with the Sahaba. If we truly want to take role models, we need to see the Sahaba, the Khulafa Rashidin, Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, Ali radiallahu anhum, and the other Sahaba who were with the Prophet ﷺ. We need to read about their lifestyles. The sisters, if they truly want to take role models, and if they truly want to be like Aisha, Khadija, and Maryam radiallahu anhum, then they need to read about their lifestyle, how they were, what did they do, how did they live their lives, were they concerned about other so-called celebrities and influencers, or they were focused about themselves and their akhirah. So this is what is for the brothers, for the sisters, that read about the Sahaba, study about the Sahaba, their lifestyle, about the scholars who gave some motivational quotes, or they gave us this motivational lifestyle to live. That you have many scholars such as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. If we read his lifestyle, we come to know that the person, he was someone who was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had this sabr, he had this shukr in him, he had this patience in him. And this is what will help us in our lifestyle, because when we see others, the matters of others, and when we make them our concern, it becomes difficult in our life to deal with our problems, because we start dealing with our problems the way we see others dealing. The way we see that celebrity, we start dealing similarly in our lifestyle. Similarly, when just the example of patience, which can help us in our life, when Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he was taken and he was handcuffed in front of everyone, and he was dragged by the people of that time. His students, they came up to him and they told him that you have been teaching us that you should be thankful, you should be patient, you have been teaching us that in times of difficulty, in times of calamities, you should be patient, you should have sabr. At that moment he said, this is not time of sabr, this is the time of shukr. This is how we can imagine on what level he was. That even at that time he is saying this is the time of shukr. This is the time to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So similarly, when we read about such personalities, and when we make their lifestyle as a part of our concern, and when we deal in our life, this will make things easy for us. Sabr and shukr and other things, how the Prophet ﷺ dealt in difficult situations, how he was dealing with his companions, how he was dealing with his wives, how he built a healthy family, how the Sahaba, they imitated him and how they followed him, so on and so forth. So for us, knowledge is important. Knowledge about Allah, knowledge about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to make role models, we have to choose the correct role models, and rather than taking nowadays the influencers and celebrities, we have to take these role models and we have to give our children these role models. Otherwise, there's nothing which can prevent them from living an evil lifestyle. Moreover, benefits of knowledge are many, and as we don't have much time, but know that when Allah wishes to do good to someone, He grants him the understanding of the deen. And this is something which the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned, that when Allah wishes to do good to someone, He blesses him يفقهه في الدين. He gives him the correct understanding of the deen. So turn your focus and make this your concern, that you must understand the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must understand the rulings, the legislations, and so on and so forth. Another thing you must be concerned about is your a'mal. The first thing to be asked on the day of resurrection is your salah, is our salah. And how much have we perfected our salah? Have we even perfected our wudu, our salah? This is a matter of concern. We have to, focus our salah. Have we paid our zakah or something is left? Have we fulfilled have we completed our fasts? For the brothers and sisters, those who were ill, those who missed it, have we missed any of the fast and have we completed it? It's amongst the faraid. It's a matter of our concern. Have we completed our hajj if we can afford it? Similarly, the faraid, like whatever comes under the faraid, we have to see the ibadah. How are we perfecting our ibadah and what will benefit us in the hereafter? And last but not the least, the concerns related to the dunya, such as our parents. Are we taking care of our parents? Our family members, our wives, our children? Are we taking care of them? Our community? Are we doing something for the community? If you have free time, if you are, alhamdulillah, performing your faraid, you're doing everything. If you have free time, are you doing something for the community? Are you helping the poor? Are you educating someone? Are you helping someone with your skills? Look at this and make this your concern. And through this, inshallah, you will live a productive life and you won't be, interested or concerned about, things which are useless and which will not benefit us in the hereafter or in this dunya.
For coming on, and for the viewers, we've had a good idea of the importance of not getting involved in things that don't concern us, and we've given you also some alternatives on what you should spend your time trying to do, inshallah. And until the same time, inshallah, same time, same place, I leave you as always. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.